Good evening. The May 26th, 2015 Common Council meeting will begin. Our invocation will be by Bishop Eddie Miller.
Shall we bow our heads together? Gracious Lord, again, we honor you and thank you for this day, God. We thank you for your anointing and your power and your direction. We just believe you, Lord, as we make plans to advance our city and decisions to advance our city, both economically and spiritually and socially, that God, you'll give us the divine guidance that we need. We believe your blessings upon this meeting, and we honor you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we sit down, please, if we could, just a moment of silence for Giacomo Pizzello, husband and former council member Ann Pizzello, who passed away, and services were today. Moment of silence. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Horty, would you read the roll?
Mr. Henry Davis.
Present.
Is absent. Dr. Froelich.
Here.
Dr. Marner.
Present.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Present.
Mr. Froelich.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Present.
And President Scott.
Present.
7 present.
Okay.
Report from the subcommittee on minutes.
Yes.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the May 11th, 2015 meeting of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved. Signed, Tim Scott, David Brown.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Thank you. Nothing under special business. Report from city offices. In the absence of the mayor, Catherine Roos. And we have possibly Aaron Perry just in a minute. If you could, just a brief report on curbs and sidewalks.
And I believe that Eric Horvath, our Public Works Director, will be joining us to give you a report on curbs and sidewalks. I'd like to ask Aaron Perry to join me. We'll be giving you an update on the SB 150 celebrations for this weekend. For the record, Catherine Roos, Chief of Staff with offices on the 14th floor of this building. I don't know if any of you were able to participate or attend the festivities this weekend, but I think that they were a huge success, and thanks in part to a lot of the people that volunteered, donated their time, services, and money to make sure that this happened. And it was a great celebration that Aaron Perry, the executive of our committee for SB 150, helped to orchestrate. And I want to do a special thank you to all of our City of South Bend employees, public safety, police and fire, our parks department, our streets, traffic and lighting, who all worked overtime to make sure that we had a safe and fun event for everyone and all of our residents to participate. So I'll let Aaron Perry give a little bit more in detail of this weekend's festivities.
Thank you.
Again, Aaron Perry, downtown South Bend, offices at 217 South Michigan. First of all, thank you for your support. I know this started back last budget cycle with some of your support early on for all that we were able to accomplish. This weekend was designed as a high-impact, one-time event to give South Bend maybe a little extra shot in the arm that we need to kind of maybe take us to the next tipping point and well into the future. I think we accomplished that. I know many of you are hearing the news reports and are getting the feedback. If you're getting even a fraction of the emails that I'm getting, we should feel really good about what we accomplished. Nearly 60,000 people are at best estimates as to how many folks enjoyed the weekend in one way or another. I know many of you up there supported the weekend in various ways, whether it was carrying a torch, attending ceremonies, attending the Twisted Ankles and running a basketball tournament. So thanks for your efforts there as well. Catherine mentioned the city departments. You all should be very proud. I'm overwhelmed by the support and the cooperation amongst all the city departments, from legal and risk management and the finance department all the way down to, again, Catherine mentioned the Public Works folks that were closing the streets and ensuring it was safe and logistically sound. The Streets and Fire, I'd never seen a group of folks work so well together as they did this past weekend. So, what a great model to know what we can accomplish as a city. And then the final note is that we saw more than 1,000 volunteers over the course of the weekend. Just everybody working shoulder to shoulder at a moment's notice to accomplish all the little things that needed to happen to pull off this event, and all in the name of moving South Bend forward. So couldn't be more proud of our city at this time. The question we keep getting is, are we going to do it again? And the fact of the matter is, this was again that one-time high-impact event, but the neat part is we do have some lasting elements of it. South Bend River Lights is here to stay. And that's going to continue to evolve and grow and become a real neat South Bend mission. And then every single element of SB 150 contains parts of events that we do every year, things that we're proud of, like Art Beat, Urban Adventure. We have the museums that were represented there in South Bend Drive, the Taste of South Bend. Of course, we have the Taste of Michiana, the big concerts like we do on at Four Winds Field and things of that nature. So all those elements will continue to live on, and they're separate. I don't know if we'll put them back in one place again, maybe at the Bicentennial. But again, thanks for your support. It's been a pleasure to serve in this role.
I'll take 2 questions per council member, starting with Henry Davis.
Aaron, I enjoyed myself. I had, fun. I know I was tweeting and saying different things throughout the weekend about, the time that was spent downtown. I actually participated in the Gusmacher against good common sense, but I did. And but I thought it was something that I actually was used to. When I was growing up here in South Bend, we had that type of environment. I don't know why we not had it, but we had it then. Question that I have, and this is in no way, shape, or form to bring a dark cloud over this, but how much did this cost? I've been paying attention to the amount of overtime the officers are working, public safety on both sides. They were on 3 shifts, 12 hours apiece. Obviously, there's overtime associated with that. The other city workers are out there. The cost of doing business is high. Obviously, we're getting some sort of like donations from sponsors. At what level, I do not know what that is. They could have been in-kind support, could have been monetarily. But the question I ask is, how much did that weekend cost this city?
I'll start, and then I'll let Catherine fill in the gaps. So we've been talking about this whole event as a year-long celebration, inclusive of South Bend River Lights and everything associated with it. The price tag of the year-long celebration, including the permanent elements, about $1.2 million. By and large, the city did make a financial contribution to that of $150,000. So a small portion of it was there. The rest was fundraised through the committee, which is overwhelming, again, to see the amount of support that came out to make those things possible.
The question wasn't the year-long celebration, it was the weekend. I was clear about that, and I don't want to do that because, again, like I said, it was a great weekend.
Sure.
But the weekend, I talked about the public safety officers. I talked about the amount of overtime that has to be paid out. They weren't working for free. And all the other elements that it costs for us to do certain things like that, whether we want to qualify them as a cost of doing business, but if you're out there working, that is a cost of doing business. If somebody else is out there working, that is a cost of doing business. And I don't want to make this into a session where we're going back and forth about something that will happen. That's great. It's just a simple question. So if you guys are not able today to answer the question and quantify that, by the list, but the question is still going to be out there. And at $1.2 million, it was more than $1.2 million spent on all that. The fireworks probably cost $500,000 in sales. So, so let's not do that today.
Yeah, luckily to note, I can't answer that question right now. We're still putting the spreadsheet together.
Thank you, sir.
But we'll certainly report back on that. That's a question I want to know the answer to too.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right, that's it, sir.
First of all, I got to congratulate Catherine. I was involved in the fundraising of the river lighting project and I believe she was able to obtain $800,000 in voluntary contributions from the community. I was at the $7,500 to $15,000 range I was asking people, and I only got turned down about 8 people one time, and that was coming in at $1,500. Otherwise, there were $7,500 and above due to Catherine's efforts and organization. So congratulations, great job. I think that the river lighting project is symbolic of the tipping point in this city. Now we can move forward. We have 2 tax abatements now tonight before us, JMS and the JSK, both a residential and a hotel. And it's all due to the efforts of these 2 and the mayor as far as our economy is concerned. If we can't attract young people with events like this, we can't go forward. So, and congratulations to Aaron. What an outstanding job. His organizational abilities is far beyond anybody I've ever met. And so he deserves the kudos for everything he did. And thanks for the city of South Bend, Aaron. Great job.
Doc?
I also want to take an opportunity to thank everyone that was involved. Eric told me, I think it was Friday night, it almost brought him to tears when I told him I thought things were going really well, and I appreciated his efforts. It went even better apparently the rest of the week, and congratulations again to everyone that was involved. My question, it kind of goes along with Fred's, or Dr. Perlich, was you mentioned that he mentioned the tipping point. You suggested that with regards to the lighting of the river, which I think was overwhelming, met with overwhelming enthusiasm. How do you continue that? I'll let you talk about the future because you mentioned that. How does that continue? Does that grow with more lights? Does the show evolve? Can you tell us a little bit about that now? So if it doesn't happen right away, it could give people something to talk about. Sure. Immediately, we'll continue to see it evolve in terms of the River Lights Plaza that's going to be installed over the summer, the base of near Sites Park, the base of the light forest, what we call it. So those were where we were selling the $150 bricks and then the larger pavers that were at the corporate level. So we'll see that. We'll be able to dedicate that towards the end of the summer. Excited about what possibilities that bring. Then, of course, people are starting to experience that whole site and use it in ways they hadn't before, or at least not recently. And so we have to continue to look at the site and how does that play into the master plan of the Riverwalk, and we have to add some additional lighting or security to that area, what happens there. But there's a lot more bridges, and as South Bend River Lights become a thing, that's not just in that one little area. Boy, the possibilities are endless. We had dinner with the lighting designer last night who was already getting excited about possibilities. Architectural lighting in the community, responsible, environmentally friendly architectural lighting could be a neat thing to talk about here. So, thank you.
Oliver Davis.
Congratulations, and I truly enjoyed myself out there on Friday myself. Do you see the lighting doing something during the 4th of July issues? I think that we've always relied on this ballpark to really be the downtown feature for the 4th of July. Is there something where it can be I like a piece of Friday night where there was fireworks going that way and then everything was going downtown on one side. It was really nice. Do you see that the lighting would be something that we could have annually on the 4th of July 1? And 2, there was talk years ago that we could never have the ethnic festival because it said security was a problem. And I said to myself Friday night, if we have all these folk out here, like we have out here, and security is protecting everybody out here, and we had a good weekend, then why in the world we cannot have our ethnic festival again? Because our security took care of everything. I mean, we didn't have the problems that potentially could have had. And if that was the issue that stopped the ethnic festival, which really used to be an annual summertime event downtown, and I truly enjoyed the food and everything about it, why can't we go back to something on an annual event to have that again, to really build up that kind of thing? Because we have just shown that we can have a whole weekend of 60,000 people, and we're good. And so why can't we do that thing? So first, back to the 4th of July lighting, and then to the ethnic festival comments.
Sure. Insofar as the 4th of July, the lights are already programmed for a show that'll happen on the 4th of July.
Cool.
The lighting designer, when he was here, set a series of programs together. So we'll see things at 4th of July, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween.
And my birthday.
And so, when the Cubs, when South Bend comes win, and when Notre Dame wins, there's different programming that'll go into place. So we'll continue to see that evolve, and I'm certain programming will happen around it. There's things we can plug in, bands to it, and things of that nature.
Okay.
And so far as an annual large-scale festival, again, I'm not entirely sure if we have the capacity to pull that off every year as a city. It does, as Henry was pointing out, it does take a huge strain on resources and things of that nature. But it's neat to see that we can do it.
But you know, when you look at the resources, I mean, I was in a particular place today having pizza downtown, and I was talking to them, I said, y'all really made it a good, the business was great Friday night, and they applauded that.
Yeah.
I mean, the business is downstairs, I mean, on Friday was open late, everything was there, and the weekends and stuff, they made their money. And it still helps to invest in downtown, and all the city people came. It gives us something to do. I don't mind us investing monies and giving me something to do. Where else we going to get in our cars and go to Chicago? You know, we can go to Detroit, we can go to some other place, and so why not have something where people come here? So, and I can save money and just sit there and see the lights and have all this other good stuff and come down and get some food. So that's the kind of thinking I think we need to consider.
I think the great thing, Councilman Davis, that you're pointing out is that this will start a lot of similar conversations, which I think is good for our community to have, of how do we start to incorporate more things that people, more activities that people can participate in, alongside with the ones that DTSB and other organizations already throw in our community. And so I think that's a great point of more conversations like these need to happen, and we'll figure out what's actually feasible for us to do.
It's good to know we have your support on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm good. Gavin?
Sure. Congrats, Catherine, first of all, on doing this largely with private money and your fundraising efforts. And Aaron, huge congratulations. I know you've been doing this for 5 years in some scale with On the River, but this was unbelievable. And to do it all on a volunteer basis, too. I hope you realize just how incredible it was what you pulled off. So, thanks.
Again, I think everyone has said what I would have said. So, again, congratulations. It was a great event. I appreciate the level of diversity throughout the weekend, and we'd like to recognize all the volunteers, public safety officials, city administration, and everyone that came to make this a great event. It shows that when we come together as a community, that we can move forward. And I think that the message behind this week's activities show that we are committed to the city of South Bend, we're able to work together, and that we're committed to move forward. And this is just one way in which we're able to do so. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for all of your support. We very, very much appreciate it.
And just, my final comments, I agree with everything everybody said, even the questions about, the financials, sitting on DTSB board. I can't wait for that next board meeting. We kind of go over the whole thing. This body that is before you right now, or 7 of the 9 members that did the proclamation, I do have new copies here because you guys didn't really want to carry them around. I carried them around. They got wrinkled up, so we do have new ones, so I want to hand those off to you.
They got wrinkled up.
Yeah. It's written up because
Taxpayer money.
Thank you very much.
So, and I do appreciate all my council colleagues coming out and being part of the history and reading the proclamation with me.
I appreciate you inviting us to do that. That was nice.
Thank you.
Very much. The other person I'd just like to briefly recognize who wasn't here this evening was Rob DeClean,
Yep.
who is the executive director of Visit South Bend, Mishawaka, who was also a member of our executive committee, along with Aaron and myself. And Rob did a tremendous job of marketing and promoting this and giving his expertise to making sure that this weekend came together. So I'd just like to note his good works as well. Thank you.
One last thing.
One last thing for all of you.
Have you studied what other cities are doing, when they have their annuals? In terms of, I've been to Louisville and other places when they have their annual things. Have you looked at those other cities and to look at that?
Yeah, that's certainly a part of what we do at Downtown South Bend Inc. with all of our events,
Yeah.
but in particular with part of this, it's interesting to see where we are with these large-scale community festivals. It's it's a dying breed to some degree. Chicago doesn't do the Taste of Chicago anymore. St. Joe doesn't do Venetian Festival anymore. Some of these things that they're difficult to support from a volunteer base, from the financial base. And so it was particularly exciting to see that we could pull this off in a really great fashion. But that's something we continue to look at for sure.
It'd be interesting to see why they don't, and what could lead us to doing more often. Maybe it was every other year, every 5 years, because to wait 25 more years, we won't, you know, come on, y'all, I want to be around too.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. Thank you. We want to move on. Eric Horvath.
Have you heard that before? This Chicago? Yeah, last year.
Quick 5 minutes.
Okay, good evening, council members.
Or quicker.
Eric Horvath, Public Works Director, 13th floor of this building. Quick update on where we are with the city curb and sidewalk program. We've got various programs, as you know. One, the schedule for the city crew itself I sent out. Hopefully everyone got that PDF. We should stay pretty close to that. We've got it property by property. If it starts to slip and we see any issues, I will let you know. I'll get you an updated list and let you know. But for the most part, weather, dependent, we should stay pretty close to that schedule. The second program is a reimbursement program where we've got homeowners that come in and they fill out the form and then they go get the work done and then we reimburse. We've got one of those complete. We've got 20 properties total on the list, and that program's starting to generate more and more interest. And then in terms of the other part of the sidewalk program that wasn't on the list that the city's doing, we're bidding that piece out. We made that decision last year where we do part of it with outside forces. And that will go to request for advertisement on June 9th. We'll advertise on the 12th and 19th for bids to be open July 9th, and then we'll award them on July 14th. That all goes through the Board of Public Works as a public bidding process. And then we should be starting construction shortly thereafter. In addition to that, as a separate bid document, we'll have the Prairie sidewalk, and that we don't have the design done yet. So that'll bid sometime in July for a start date in August. Okay. And then the final program is the Safe Routes to Schools programs that are on Harrison and Coquillard schools. We did receive proposals today for construction inspection on that. But the letting itself goes through the state process, so that won't be let for a couple months here. But we still plan on that work happening this fall. And then finally, I guess I should say also, we're currently out for requests for proposals for design work, for sidewalk for next year on a grant that we received for Lincoln and Pearlie schools as well. And that should be your 5 minutes of curb and sidewalk.
Very good. We'll start with questions from Councilperson White. Gavin? Oliver Davis.
Regarding the Harrison School project,
yes.
I would like to get with you within the coming weeks so we can have a neighborhood meeting out there so we can present that to a lot of the neighbors regarding what you're planning to do. And so I'll call you on that because I think that would be very helpful to a lot of the things that we're dealing with out in the south, far west side, because many people are saying there's nothing done in that section, and I think that would be very helpful in getting that point across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'll tell you, a fun thing about Harrison has been the school got really involved in it, and they took this as kind of a cool exercise where they're actually going out and they're measuring sidewalk and figure out which sidewalk should be done and really attacking this thing and putting a proposal together to the city. So to include maybe even the school somehow in that meeting would be awesome if we could. But I'd be happy to have a public meeting out at Harrison
I'll find
somewhere
tomorrow.
out there.
We'll touch bases.
You're great.
Thanks.
Doc?
You were kind enough to mention the Prairie sidewalk. I think the information on Fellow Street should be equally important to folks who live in that area. Not Fellow Street. Ewing Avenue.
Yes. Yeah, there's, so Ewing will be done as part of our bid process that goes through the June 9th one that we're putting out. There'll be those 4 blocks of Ewing just east of Michigan, some curb and sidewalk there. Yep, that's in some dire need as well.
Good job, Doc.
Eric, what percentage will be done by the city and what percentage is outsourced?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but significantly more is going to be done outsourced because Safe Routes to Schools alone is somewhere in the realm of 5 miles, and we do about a mile a year. So our portion is probably, just guessing, 10 to 15% of the total amount that we'll do this year.
Okay, I was just asking, that's...
Yeah, it's actually, I take that back, it's probably closer to 10% because of the infrastructure projects that we have put in a considerable amount as well.
Thanks, good job.
Councilman Henry Davis Jr.
Thank you. One thing that I'm in fear of with this whole thing of messaging that the council members have something to say about where half a block goes in their district. I think it's 2% of the entire city, or maybe 3%. It's about 2 to 3% of the entire city, of the incorporated city, does not have curbs or sidewalks, and in some cases sewer systems. I would like to find out when will those areas become more of a priority versus designating council members and saying that they have the ability to place curbs and sidewalks in their district, when in fact it's a very small piece of what is allocated by to get done for the entire. The 2% itself is, I think it's a lot more than what we will ever make up as an entire council trying to get curbs and sidewalks put in place. Obviously that's, something that folks agree to, but the question is that how can we get to the level where the 2% itself is becoming a priority, where people actually live there and they don't have those sort of accommodations and they live in the city?
Yeah, I think obviously we've got some sidewalks that are existing sidewalks that are in poor condition that we need to take care of, but we also have gaps where we don't have sidewalk, and it'd be nice to fill those as well. And it's a matter of getting the funding to be able to do all those things, and I'd love to see nothing but new sidewalk all over town if we could afford it, but we got to do it in a way that we can afford it. And so we are filling some of those gaps as we go. Prairie is a great example of that, where we had a gap there that we're putting, I don't know how much, about 1,300 feet there of new sidewalk where there wasn't before.
Right, that's
but there are probably other areas where for sure we...
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, about 2%, so that, obviously that's a lot larger area. And so I would like to see that become part of the conversation as we get to the budget session, to talk about where those places are, and to not reintroduce, but introduce those features, because, obviously these folks are paying for it, but they obviously don't have it either.
Okay.
And is he going to be done? Is he done first? Okay, yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, and I would like to reiterate the same thing. There's parts of Keller Park that, in other parts in the area, but kind of systematically in Keller Park, there's streets like Inglewood that there's no sidewalks whatsoever, and then people, you think that it's kind of no man's land, and they start dumping. So we, not really me, but through me and through other council members, Keller Park has put together a whole master plan for their sidewalks alone. And whether it's 1 year, 20 years, whatever, they have mapped out the priority, and part of that is some sidewalks that are completely missing. So I'll be presenting that to you and setting up a meeting for that. I think this is something that is important to council. It's been on kind of the list for residential neighborhoods for the budget. So not only you, but your bosses above you need to take note of that, and I think that's something that we'll probably be asking for from council. So with that, we thank you.
Thank you.
And the report from administration is over. We'll...
President Scott.
Yes, sir.
Oliver Davis, the Taste of Chicago is happening July 8th through July 12th in the city of Chicago in Grant Park. Just for understanding.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Entertain a motion to resolve in the committee on whole.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No disrespect?
The committee of the whole is now in session. We have two bills that will be continued, and would like to entertain a motion to continue Bill 18-15 until June 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion may hear your vote.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. But now I'd like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 22-15.
Would you continue 2215 to 622?
Second.
6-8, I'm sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to continue Bill 22-15 until June 22nd. All those in favor? June 8th. All those in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Now I'd like to entertain a motion to rise and report back to the full committee.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Full council is now back in session. Kathy, with the third reading, continue to move on to resolutions.
Resolution 1536, resolution confirming the adoption of a declaratory resolution designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 3702 West Sample, South Bend, Indiana, 46619, as an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for Kruk Electric LLC.
This is a confirming, do we have a report, or, I'm sorry, the petition, or the presenter, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jacob Alexander. I'm with the Department of Community Investment, 14th floor. I'm here presenting a personal property abatement for Kruk Electric. Advanced Wire Form is a subsidiary DBA of Kruk Electric LLC. Advanced Wire Form manufactures springs and wire forms for the medical and brake industries. They are a locally owned business located in the Semple Street Business Complex and have been there for the past 12 years. They're currently employing 4 full-time employees and 2 part-time. Due to steady growth and demand over the past couple of years, Kruk Electric requires additional equipment to expand production capabilities and meet current and future demands. With the addition of the new equipment, Kruk Electric will be able to continue as a contributing business to the community. $175,000 private investment to purchase a new wire forming machine. New project taxes, $15,012 over 5 years. Estimated tax being abated during the 5-year period, $6,881. Total taxes to be paid on new and existing equipment over the next 5 years, $8,131.
Okay, thank you. The petitioner could make just a brief statement.
Yes, my name is Dan Kruk. Our business address is 3702 West Sample Street. We're located in the Sample Street Business Complex. I'm in partnership with Kruk Electric. As Jacob mentioned, we have a subsidiary called Advanced Wire Form, and we're purchasing 2 new pieces of equipment to expand our production capability. And that's why we're here. We're asking, hopefully, for a tax abatement or consideration for it to help us defer some of the costs of the capital improvements to the building and also for purchasing of the equipment.
Good.
I hope that you would consider us for the abatement, and I appreciate your time and your effort. Thank you.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 1536, please come to the podium. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1536, please come to the podium. Seeing none, bring back to council. Mr. Vorty?
Move for the adoption of resolution 15-36. 36.
Second.
Thank you, sorry. Mr. Vorty?
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
And President Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Vorty, 1531, please.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 111 South St. Joseph Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 2-year vacant building tax abatement for JSK Development, Inc.
For purposes of public hearing, you can hear substitute bill 1532 also.
I make a motion that we hear 1531 and 1532 together for purposes of public conversation.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Vorty, 1532?
1532, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 121 South St. Joseph Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 9-year real property tax abatement for JSK Development, Inc.
A motion to accept both substitute bill 1531 and 1532.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Committee report.
Community investment sends both bills forward favorably.
Okay. Mr. Fielding.
Good evening, Chris Fielding, Department of Community Investment, 14th floor of this building. Again, before you have 2 bills, 1531, 1532. One is for a 2-year tax vacant building abatement under state statute, would be an exemption to the local ordinance. This is for the former College Football Hall of Fame that will now become incorporated into a 120-room hotel that will be built on the adjacent lot, commonly known in the city as the Jefferson lot, where the former college was. The structure that will be built on the Jefferson lot and across the egress coming in off of St. Joseph Street, so that it will all be continuous in one building. The Hall of Fame building will become the lobby for the hotel with other amenities such as a restaurant and bar and other things that JSK has planned. They're also planning to move their corporate headquarters, which is now situated in North Roseland, downtown, and occupy the upper level of the Hall of Fame. The value of the 2-year abatement, total taxes to be paid over the life of the abatement would be $65,961. Total taxes abated would be $107,800. I would note that this will actually turn the Hall of Fame into a tax-paying entity, which will be fantastic, and it will pay approximately $86,900 a year in taxes moving forward. For the structure that will be built on the Jefferson lot, we've offered a 9-year tax abatement. The taxes to be paid will be $1,464,000. Total taxes abated will be $945,000 over the 9 years, and in addition, he'll create 38 new jobs. Total investment is somewhere between $9 and $12 million.
Thank you, Mr. Petitioner.
And we do have AJ Patel is also here from JSK Development, and JSK is the owner of Southhold LLC, which is the name of the under the abatement.
Sir, would you just make a brief statement? Name and address for the record.
AJ Patel, 247 Dixie Way North, South Bend, Indiana, 46637. I'm the president and CEO of JSK Development and Hospitality.
Okay, thank you. Council members, any questions? Mr. Davis.
Yeah, I've been following this. Great idea. Glad that we have some more hotel rooms coming downtown. One question I do have is for Mr. Fielding, not for you, sir. Maybe about 2 to 3 years ago, we had obviously the issue of the Chase Tower being online or not. There were some moves that were made to try to keep that hotel going. Obviously, the hotel is no longer at this point. Maybe come back online, I'm not sure. But during that conversation, this council, the community was educated on the amount of rooms that our area could have. And as a result, it was an understanding that the amount of rooms for hotels here was not as significant as it needed to be because of the amount of energy that's here to support that sort of growth. and also because of A Street Commons not being very, very far away and all the rooms that were being built at that time as well. So with this development and knowing that information, are we going to see the Chase Tower now participate or behave like it once did before? Or is there a conversation about that becoming a hotel again? Because obviously if this comes into play, then we know what the levels are, well, at least I do, the levels of amount of hotel rooms that we can have in one given area. So what's going to happen there with this the largest building in northern Indiana? And how is that going to affect maybe that development and any other developments that are happening downtown for South Bend?
The hotels that will operate within the downtown will honestly have a unique relationship. In the downtown area, the hotels will operate more in a symbiotic relationship. We'll all work together to attract events to the Century Center. The Century Center, especially during the week, is where a lot of their convention business will come from. It's in South Bend, anywhere in South Bend, Mishawaka. It's not hard to fill hotel rooms on the weekends. We're pretty much booked, so that's not a problem. But having the Century Center there, I sit on the South Bend Alliance board. So we look at the amount of RFPs that we can respond to attract conferences here. The check boxes that we cannot mark is hotel rooms over 210 a night, and we only have one hotel that's connected. This hotel will actually have 2 hotels that are connected, which most communities do not have. And this will give us the capacity to serve conventions in the upwards of 350 to 400 room nights. So to answer your question, adding another hotel will move the city up another level where we begin to use the capacity of the Century Center. I don't know, I think you were there. I went to the Logan Luncheon. There was 1,150 people in the main ballroom seated and eating. So to only have 400 hotel rooms to serve a structure that can seat 1,100 people in one room, we're still far below the capacity for hotel rooms that we could utilize to really see the full utilization of the Century Center. So the conversations that we've had about the Chase Tower, specifically to your question, is that there are plans to remodel the Chase Tower, and that we do expect that the hotel will come back as a hotel. These two will not have any bearing on each other, except for, obviously, whatever the brand is, that brand will not put 2 hotels in one downtown.
And I'm aware of that, sir. But has that number changed? What has made that number change to grow it at a higher level? Again, when we did that planning, working with the developer, and obviously that didn't work out, there was a set agenda, there was a set understanding based upon our market, the amount of money that people are paid here, the amount of what we were able to attract as a Convention Viewers Bureau. All those things remain constant in the theorem, the givens. Has anything have changed in order for us to have this capacity to be expanded the way that you're speaking of? And if so, what has changed? Because I haven't seen anything or read anything that has.
I think the most important thing that's changed since that study was done is the sheer interest and momentum in the community. We attract people to our community now, just like this past weekend. There's more events at the campus, more events happening now that we're going to have Purdue Polytechnic. There's more interest happening in the community, and that buzz creates business. People visit here. When they visit, they stay in hotel rooms. Typically, when people stay in hotel rooms, they would like to be able to walk to amenities. In the past, new construction hotels were not something that we were looking at. It was only the capacity to create hotel rooms within buildings that existed. The market has now shifted in South Bend.
In 3 years.
People are now absolutely in 3 years. In 2 years, it's shifted. So that now we have developers like Mr. Patel who are not only interested in building a $12 million hotel in our downtown. I have a petition on my desk from Mr. Patel to build another $7 million hotel on the south side, with his permission to tell you that tonight. So you have a developer standing behind me that's going to invest almost $20 million in this community, and I'm pretty sure, having seen his portfolio, he knows the market.
Well, no, I'm not stepping on that. I'm just talking about what I do understand, what I do know based on the market, and then being not 3 miles away from Notre Dame, and that being an issue as well. So, I mean, great. If he wants to spend it, please spend more. Spend it all. You know, just be honest about that. But I'm going based off my experience, and that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Questions? Any other questions? Oliver Davis.
Where on the south side?
All right. Get your card out there.
We're going to be out on corner of Ireland and Michigan.
Corner of Ireland and Michigan?
Yeah, right. There's some property we have purchased.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Any other questions?
No, welcome aboard. That's good news.
Okay. Thank you. With that, we'll turn it over to the public. Anybody from the public wishing to speak in favor of 1531 or 1532, please come to the microphones. Please give your name and address.
My name is Samuel Brown. I live at 222 East of Broad Street. I represent Citizen United for a Better Government. My only problem with this is in the downtown area. We got the Chase Tower here. We got the 80th Street Commons coming to the south, and they're going to build an Embassy Suite out there. And everybody knows anything about the Embassy Suite. They don't do nothing second class. The Chase Tower is the most valuable piece of land in the city of South Bend, if we can ever get it done right. Now, we're going to build a hotel, and it sounds good, but we're going to be able, it doesn't sound good, just like the Hall of Fame did. We're going to be able to accommodate and have that a growing part of South Bend where it's going to be like the Hall of Fame was. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of 1531, 1532? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against 1531 and 1532? With that, we'll bring it back. Mr. Feeling, would you want any type of rebuttal to the question that was formed?
No, I would just say that in terms of the Chase Tower, I think, tonight, certainly this exciting news is not about the Chase Tower, but the Chase Tower, there's several buildings in downtown that we're focused on. Another one that we'll be bringing forward in about 10 minutes that are just primed for revitalization. The Chase Tower, from an economic development standpoint, is in the best situation it's been in years. Not from a physical standpoint, but it's the first time that you've actually had one owner of both the note, the title, and no receiver involved. So it's really hard with those types of entities to ever agree to do anything, and it makes developers shy away from the building. So the fact that all of those things are packaged in when we have one owner for the Chase Tower, typically private sector individuals do not invest in buildings of that size and that amount to lose money. So they have a plan, and they have the ability to undertake that plan now that the receiver's out of the way and the title holders.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll close the public portion and bring back to council. We'll take a motion on each one individually.
Motion to adopt 1531. Do we need to say substitute? Substitute. Second.
Oh, all in favor?
No.
No, sorry.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
And Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
President Tim Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion to adopt 1532 substitute version?
Second. Mr. Gordy.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
And President Tim Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes again.
Thank you. 1533.
Motion to continue 1533 to June 22nd?
Second.
June 8th, I'm sorry, June 8th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. 1537.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 4701 Nips Parkway, South Bend, Indiana, 46628, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for Schaefer Industries, Inc.
Mr. Furlick, is there a committee report?
Yes, Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Sarah Hensman, Department of Community Investment, offices on the 14th floor of this building. Schaefer Gear is a locally owned company. They are looking to make a personal property purchase and are looking for an abatement for that. It's 4 pieces of machinery. Their total their total taxes for this period are going to be $210,000, $178. Taxes abated, $96,848, and taxes paid, $113,330. They will also create 4 permanent jobs as a result of this over the course of the project. Lincoln, who is from Schaefer Gear, is here if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, sir.
Members of the council, my name is Stan Blanky, Executive Vice President of Schaefer Industries, 4701 Nims Parkway, South Bend. Again, we are here this evening requesting tax abatement due to new contracts received from 2 existing customers, 1 new customer. The new contracts we received are for gears that go on the camshaft for a light-duty diesel engine, customer here in Indiana, and also for a turbocharger for a Chrysler Challenger, 707 horsepower machine now. They're sold out right now at this point, so activity is brisk. And as you heard, we plan to hire 4 new positions in the company, as well as retain 83 positions. Today, Schaefer Gear, and in the past, is paying approximately $200,000 a year in existing property taxes for equipment, and we really appreciate the past support from the council for past tax abatements. It allows us to continue to grow, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? No. Seeing none, thank you. We'll open it up to the public. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of 1537, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1537, please come to the microphone. Seeing none.
Motion to adopt 1537.
Second. Mr. Rorty.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Furlick.
Aye.
And Dr. Varner.
Aye.
President Tim Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. 1538.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating a certain area within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 325 South Walnut Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for Masterbuilt, Inc.
Presenter?
Community Investment Center support favorably.
Sorry, Gavin, I keep forgetting about it. Mr. Feely.
Good evening again, Chris Fielding, 14th floor, Department of Community Investment. Before you have a resolution for a 5-year personal property abatement from Masterbuilt Incorporated. They're an aerospace parts manufacturer located at Western and Walnut here in South Bend. They have the ability to expand their current capacity and add 4 new jobs by adding equipment to meet the demand for the business they actually already have in place that they're currently outsourcing outside of the community that they plan to bring back. It's a very interesting company. They make over 220 parts in their facility here for aerospace. Their total investment is projected to be $600,000. Over their total taxes abated would be $23,593, with total net taxes to be paid of $27,879. And again, their plan to operate this equipment is to add an additional 4 jobs at their current facility. Mr. Rob Mahalik from Masterbuilt is here. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Sir, would you make a brief statement?
Rob Mahalik from Masterbuilt. Address is 325 South Walnut Street, 46601. As Chris mentioned, we're looking to invest in CNC equipment to not only bring in work that we've been outsourcing, but also add new business. So we're looking to aggressively grow as aerospace is growing as a market. So we're hoping to keep expanding.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions?
Your business is on...
Mr. Davis.
Sorry, thank you. Your business is on... What? Okay, Weston's going this way. You're on this side of Weston or that side of Weston?
We're on Walnut, just north of Western. So
just north of Western?
Correct.
Okay, up that side. Okay.
On the northwest, so on the west side of Walnut, just north of Western.
I got you. I see it.
It's actually the building is where Clay Candies started, the Ford building. So.
I understand. I just couldn't. I got you.
Any other questions from council? Nope. Seeing none, we will turn it over to the public. So anyone wishing to speak in favor of 1538, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak against 1538, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, bring it back to council.
Motion for the adoption of 1538.
Second. Mr. Gordy?
Mr. Furlick?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis?
Aye.
Dr. Furlick?
Aye.
Dr. Varner?
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis?
Aye.
And President Tim Scott?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. 1539.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 106 through 110 North Main Street, South Bend, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 10-year real property tax abatement for historic JMS Building LLC.
Mr. Furlick, is there a report?
Yes, Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
Thank you. We have a presenter, Mr. Fielding.
Chris Fielding, Department of Community Investment, 14th floor of this building. Again, resolution number 1539, we bring forth a tax abatement for real property for the JMS building in downtown South Bend on Main Street. This is a partnership between the historic JMS building LLC is a partnership between Great Lakes Capital and Earth Design. Frank Perry is also here as the co-developer and partner to answer any questions. Their plan is to invest approximately $7.6 million into the building. They'll create 60 to 68 apartments above the current commercial space. So there will be no office space above the first floor. Floors 2 through 8 will become 60 to 68 market rate apartments. The return on investment on this project, we don't have our slides. I have them, I'll email them to you. The return on investment on this project is 5 years. It'll create 8 jobs. Total taxes to be paid over the life of the 10-year abatement would be $2,121,000. Total taxes to be abated are $630,000. And again, they're currently purchasing 3 key numbers, which are included in all 3 are identified in the packet. However, improvements are only being made to 1 tax key number, and that's the main structure itself. Yes, sir.
Hang on, we'll wait till present. Would the petitioner please...
Frank Perry is here.
Statement, thank you.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Frank Perry. I'm the owner of a small boutique real estate investment and consulting firm with offices, 3617 McKinley Avenue in South Bend. And as Chris pointed out, I'm the minority partner, but co-developer of the project. I've been fortunate enough to have the Great Lakes guys approach me and ask me to work on this with them. We're excited about the opportunity. It is a challenge, but it's an opportunity. It's a great building. It's got great bones. We'd like to put some good meat on it and add it back to the tax rolls in a significant way. As Chris also said, 60 to 68 apartments. These will be high-end apartments from the standpoint of the finishes, and we think it'll add measurably to what's going on downtown, which we're excited about. While I'm on that, I guess I'll just tell you that I hope to be back soon with another project before you to announce that on another key parcel in downtown, because for the probably in all my years, which I'm a local and a native, and I've been in the development business a long time. I've been before most of you here and there over the years. I'm excited about what's happening right now. The groundswell. It feels good. I hope economically it's rewarding, but I think all the developers that are ready to step up are betting that it is. So we are in that group. We're in final due diligence. We haven't closed on the property. It's not a done deal, but we're getting closer, a lot closer. And we're hoping to deliver apartments about June next year. With that, I'll ask any
Thank you. Council members, any questions?
I just have one regarding the parking. Could you address the parking and how that will be dealt with? Because, with the JMS building before, you had, they used the parking lot and everything, but now with actually 60 homes, apartment homes coming in there, families living in there, in that section there, that was the concern I had.
So the third tax key number that's included in your packet is actually the parking lot to the north of the JMS?
I know that was
north, correct? Okay. to the north of the JMS, and I believe it houses approximately 32 spaces. Great Lakes Capital also owns the parking lot to the east of that building, right behind American Trust Place, that has extra capacity there. And we've also committed to lease spaces to the building in the adjacent Main Street garage that is just on the other side of the parking lot.
So like when people come to visit them or they have guests over, or what happens?
So anytime after, I believe it's 5 o'clock in the garages, they're open and free. Anyone can park in the garages. Also with the two-way street conversions, you'll see parallel parking on both sides of the street, in addition to the parking lots that are available.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Perry, with regard to you take an old building and it's pretty solidly constructed, and you talk about the high-end finishes. I'm curious, will these be 600 square foot apartments, 800 square foot? Where do you see these size-wise, dimensionally, ending up?
Right now, ad nauseum, I've looked at the numbers, Doctor, so the average is going to be north of 850 square feet, but just around that number, use 850, I'd say. There'll be studios, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. They'll range in price from the mid-700s to as much as $1,650, $1,700 even. There's some really, really nice views and units that'll be available, and then there's some that are a little bit more secondary, but they'll still command a price. The finishes will be high-end, and I guess that's what I mean by a little bit high-end product. Does that answer?
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, when you take an old building, I know you're limited by...
Well, it's funny. In adaptive reuse in a building, the first thing that a developer looks at typically are two things. First of all, can the building be used in its current existing form? Obviously, that answer is no. Can it be reused? Yes. What's the ideal use for it? In this case, apartments actually is pretty good use for the building. If you demo all the floors interior and put it together, then the second one is the economics. That's tougher. It's a lot tougher. But in fact, working with the city, we feel we've finalized a good deal that'll make it worthwhile to risk the millions that we're risking on this deal.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, and I think this is more for Chris than anybody else. I think it's a great idea. I think I'd like to see more of I wish most of our buildings before they were ripped down during the urban renewal projects and all the other things weren't. I just wish we still had that same character, but we don't. But I guess my question is at this point is that with all these happening things going on in South Bend, especially centrally located in downtown, we just got done talking about the Hall of Fame, Chase Towers, LaSalle, Hoffman, now JMS, Dave Matthews projects as well. These all are dealing with like residential living spaces or hotels, etc. When was the last time that the city of South Bend did like a market rate study or even like a disparity study? I'm just having a very difficult time. And again, I'm going to vote for this project. I'm not going to stand in front of this. But I just need to know where we're at economically. It's just like you said, this is a huge amount of energy that's going on. But I have not seen a mass infusion of new dollars, meaning new jobs. I haven't seen that happen. I sit here and I do business with you guys to work together. And for me to believe that all these things are going to happen, and they're going to happen at the level that we're presenting them, I have to understand, is there going to be a new population that's just going to shift over to South Bend? We're going to find some people, we're going to scoop them up from St. Louis and bring them here and drop them right downtown. I mean, where's this money going to come from?
I think that's probably a multifaceted question there, so if I miss a piece of it, feel free to ask me.
I'm sorry?
There's a lot of questions in there, so if I miss a piece in my response,
well, no, it's just a market rate study. I just want to understand where all of these new, this money is going to come from to support all of these new developments.
To answer the first part of the question, yes, we did actually commission a study, I believe in 2012, it was released in 2013. And I may have that off by 6 or 8 months, so bear with me. It was the Department of Community Investment through Redevelopment Commission hired Zimmerman Volk. They're actually a national urban housing establishment, and what they do is they come in and say, currently, what are the opportunities in your downtown, what are the strengths, what's happening around your downtown, and their estimate was that over the next 5 years, the downtown South Bend could absorb 500 residential units. So we're still below that mark. to answer another part of your question is that, yes, it is possible that you'll see people from St. Louis and Michigan and other parts of the country moving here because I'm a little bit older, but for folks my age and young, it's cool to live in downtown again. People want to live in downtown. The feedback that we had received anecdotally from the folks who were doing the LaSalle Hotel is that after their tax abatement was approved here, they've got multiple phone calls, and I believe it was 4 to 6 phone calls of people wanting to immediately reserve the top floor units. They were not from students. They were from people 55 and older who don't want to live in Granger anymore. They want to be able to walk out the door and take their dog for a walk and go to the coffee shop and go to the river and go do those things that you can't do in the suburbs. So urban living is certainly the shift in our culture right now, and South Bend is absolutely taking advantage of that. So I absolutely do believe that with the Notre Dame Turbo Machinery Project and things happening in Mission Park and all the jobs coming on the west side, all the new manufacturers that are paying $22 to $27 an hour, absolutely those people will move here to take a job at $22 to $27 an hour and absolutely will live downtown. Well, so I think it's kind of everything. It's that perfect storm right now.
Well, I don't want to say perfect storm. But what I will say is that what I don't want to see happen is that the same conversation happened in Mission Walker along that river walk with all the new condominiums, and thus you see the outcome. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to see that perfect storm happen in South Bend. That's why I'm asking these questions. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news or anything. Mm-hmm. I'm just listening to the presentations and trying to figure out how does one become two. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Back to the same points that Mr. Fielder, you were talking about. While it affects his statement, it really doesn't. But this question goes to, with all these apartments coming down and this, what kind of grocery stores or anything else that we're looking at to, as more of these people are coming downtown, and there's nothing for them to go, I mean, they still got to go way out to eat, and they still got to go other places. What are your thoughts regarding that? Because we have nothing, every kind of convenient kind of place that was there, even the hospital kind of still, well, they would be Railroad, well, they CVS's. All of them are gone.
Right.
And so,
we do have 2 minor. I like to stop at the El Paraiso there at Flamingos on my way home from the Cox Center and do some grocery shopping every once in a while. It's a little 1 block outside of downtown. We do have the smaller market, the kind of the traditional, big city market right down the street there from the Robertsons, and that certainly won't meet the needs. It's always been the conversation of the chicken or the egg, right? Do you build the grocery store and then people will move down here, or do you get people to move downtown and then businessmen see the opportunity to make money because now you have rooftops? Now you have density in your downtown of people who absolutely need to walk out at 8 o'clock and go get sugar or coffee or diapers or whatever it is. Right now, in the past year or 2 years, that hasn't existed. So as we look forward into the future, it absolutely will exist, and I think you'll see an announcement coming sometime in the future that probably won't be in central downtown, but certainly on the outskirts you'll see
where
something
people
happen.
can literally take a bike and get over there.
Absolutely.
In the spirit of all nature kind of things.
Correct.
Cool.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, we'll open up to Mr. Davis.
Last, this goes in concert with I asked earlier. Is this the reason why that we went for a stretch of using $40 million to go into these 2-way lanes? Was that a part of what the market rate study did a few years ago? Was tell us in order to introduce this new way of doing business or seeing downtown or envision downtown, was that a part of why we went out on a limb with putting together a new concept for the way traffic flows downtown? Is that all together?
It did not recommend that we did that. However, it was one of the catalysts for the growth in the downtown. And it's also the catalyst for, while you're seeing folks like AJ from JSK who's putting retail space on the bottom of their hotel, which you don't normally see in a market our size, and why the retailers underneath the JMS they're willing to stay there under construction knowing they're going to have 100 people living above them. So I can't give you an answer that yes, that's why we did it, but it all plays together. It's a grander vision for the downtown and how you get there. 2-way streets was certainly one of those major and most important parts of it.
Okay, if it was, why didn't they suggest it in the study?
Because we had already told them that we were going to do it.
Okay.
Otherwise, there was no reason to do the study. The interest wouldn't be there.
Okay.
For the developers that we've worked with, the interest without two-way streets is not there.
Okay, I have more questions, but I'm done with that. That has nothing to do with Mr. Perry, so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, we'll open up to the public. Those wishing to speak in favor of 1539, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, those wishing to speak against 1539, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, the public portion now closed. Back to council.
Move for the adoption of 1539.
Second. Mr. Vorty?
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis,
Aye.
Dr. Furlick.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furlick.
Aye.
President Tim Scott.
Aye.
That would be 7 ayes again.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Can I have a motion on 1535, please?
Motion to continue 1535 to June 8th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Mr. Vorty, 1540.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving the issuance of scrap metal/junk dealer/recycling operation licenses for calendar year 2015 pursuant to Section 4-51 of the South Bend Municipal Code.
The Personnel and Finance Committee heard this bill and sends it to the council with no recommendation due to lack of quorum.
Okay, thank you. Presenter.
May I present?
Yes, you sure can.
If you'll recall, this is something we do every year, normally within the first couple of months. The process hit a log jam this year when one of the approving agencies, for a reason not related to the quality of the applicants, actually, but a procedural thing on their part, held up approval of the thing. Finally, that log jam broke. 10 of them have come through because it's already May. I made the decision that we would come forward with the 10 that meet all the criteria so we could issue the licenses. The others, I don't anticipate there'll be a holdup. If they are in the pipeline and should be approved soon.
Mr. Vorty, name and address for the record.
John Vorty, City Clerk, room 455, County City Building.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Vorty? Seeing none, thank you. We'll open up to the public. Those wishing to speak in favor of 1540, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, those wishing to speak against 1540, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council.
Move for the adoption of 1540.
Second. Mr. Vorty?
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Furlick.
Aye.
Dr. Varner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furlick.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
President Tim Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. 1541.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending resolution number 4339-14, which provided preliminary approval of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of providing certain economic facilities for Noble America's South Bend Ethanol LLC.
Mr. Furlick.
Community Investment sends this forward favorably.
Thank you. Mr. Presenter.
Good evening. I'm Randy Rompola with Faegre Baker Daniels with offices at 202 South Michigan Street. We're here tonight to request that you consider adoption of this resolution, which would increase the amount of not to exceed tax exempt bonds, which would be issued on behalf of Noble Americas. At the time you adopted the prior resolution, the amount was not to exceed $25 million. Since that time, the company has invested a larger, greater amount of money in both the project overall and in particular what could be possibly financed with tax-exempt bond proceeds. And just to reiterate, with respect to the bonds are being the bonds are being suggested for issuance at the time of the project is concluded, and the bonds would not be an obligation of the city. The reason the company is here asking for consideration of this is that to issue tax-exempt bonds, they have to be issued through a municipality such as the city of South Bend. With that issuance, then the city is not on the hook for the bonds. It doesn't account against the city's debt limit, doesn't count against the city's rating obligation. As I mentioned in the committee meeting, the bonds would either be issued through a direct placement with a bank, and going forward then it would be between the company and the bank as it relates to the payment, or the bonds would be sold pursuant to an underwriting agreement to the market, in which case the bonds would be sold with a bank letter of credit. In that case as well, the bonds would be secured through the bank again, so that if for some reason the company were not to make a payment in the future, it would be between the company and the bank. The city would not be involved at all once the bonds are issued. There is not, at this point, we're looking at a not-to-exceed amount of $50 million. Once the company is in a position determining to issue the bonds, we would certainly come back before the Economic Development Commission and come back before the Common Council with a proposed ordinance with an actual not-to-exceed amount. So at this point, we're just simply asking that you amend the prior resolution to preserve the ability to issue the bonds going forward in the future. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Council members.
Now, sorry I wasn't able to make the committee this afternoon. So basically, you're sharing with us that if something happens with Noble America, similar to what happened we had in the last ethanol situation, and they go out of business, it will not affect the city. This whole situation of their success or failure will be between their business and the bank, and will not be on the city at all. Is that correct?
That is correct. These bonds, once they are issued, would be payable solely from the revenues of the company, and they would be secured by whatever mechanism the company can secure, either through a direct placement with the bank or a bank letter of credit. This financing mechanism is for what we're contemplating is for solid waste bonds, but this is the same financing mechanism that you would use through the EDC for manufacturing facilities or for healthcare and not-for-profit organizations. And in all of those cases, you are simply being asked to act as a conduit issuer for the bonds to provide the tax-exempt status, but in no circumstance are you on the hook for the payment of those bonds in the event that the conduit borrower, in this case Noble Americas, if they were to default on their obligation to make the payment.
So that line, again, does not go against us in any way.
No.
And so it does not matter how long the terms are, pretty much, as it relates to the city.
Right, exactly. Whatever the company negotiates with the purchaser of the bonds or the bank that's providing the letter of credit, but as far as the security, again, the city is not on the hook at all with respect to the security.
I'm at peace. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from council? No, seeing none, we'll open up to the public. Thank you. Those wishing to speak in favor of 1541, please come to the microphone. Seeing none, those wishing to speak against 1541, please come to the microphone. Seeing none again, we'll turn back to council.
Move for the adoption of resolution 15-41.
Second.
Mr. Bordy?
Dr. Furley.
Aye.
Dr. Garner.
Aye.
Mr. Oliver Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Furley.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mr. Henry Davis.
Aye.
And President Tim Scott.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. Good first readings. 2415.
First reading on the bill of common council of the city of South Bend, Chapter 17, Article 7 of the South Bend Municipal Code to decrease the sewer insurance program deductible and to cover program.
Move that 2415, second, third reading on 622, and go to Utilities Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 2515.
First reading on a bill of the common council of the city of South Bend, Indiana, amending sections of Chapter 16, Articles 2 and 4 of the South Bend Municipal Code to provide waste removal solely from city-furnished containers.
Move that 2515 be sent to the Utilities Committee for second and third reading on 622.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. 2615.
First reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending Chapter 16, Sections 16-6 and 16-8 of the South Bend Municipal Code to adjust fees for city collection and disposal of refuse solid waste materials.
Move that 2615 be sent to Utilities Committee for second, third reading, and public hearing on 622.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
2715, first reading on a bill of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a resolution of the South Bend Economic Development Commission and establishing an economic development target area, JMS building and adjacent parking lot.
Move to send to community investment for 622.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business. Area plan, bills 715.
Do a separate motion for Bill 7-15 to send it to the Zoning and Annexation Committee in public hearing on June 22nd.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
A motion to accept substitute Bill 20-15 and substitute Bill 21-15.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And now a motion to send Bill 20-15 and substitute Bill 21-15 to zoning and annexation for June 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Western Avenue,
New business.
for unfinished business. There needs to have been a
Oh, okay,
new
unfinished.
establishment date for the Western Avenue.
Meeting.
I don't have it, I think Gavin had came up with a couple of dates.
Yeah.
We're looking at 5 p.m. On June 10th.
Yeah.
Location,
The location we're looking at, and we'll contact Charles Blackson to make sure it's available.
See if that's available.
just making sure the record reflects.
Nope, fine. Anything else under unfinished business? Seeing none.
Yes, we will have a meeting on this coming Thursday at 5:30 with the county assessor and others to address issues and concerns that I'm not certain of the bill number, but it's a bill number that deals with looking at assessment and also impact on our citizens. And this was sponsored by Councilmember Henry Davis. It's going to be here at 5:30 in the council conference room.
Okay, thank you. No other unfinished business?
No, sir, I just have a comment.
New business? Mr. Davis.
Yeah, and, just some basic comments that I wanted to make before we got out of here. I was asking questions about a lot of different things that happens, obviously, with the business of council and for the positive health of the city. And I've been noticing some things as well that I find to be, I guess, obtuse or in conflict with us developing as a city. It's just the amount of, or the lack of, I guess, attention that is paid to the folks that we do need at these council meetings, whether it's subcommittee or at 7 o'clock p.m. meeting. We haven't seen our mayor on a regular basis at our meetings. Would love to see him here as a regular basis. See, these things are not I'm used to. When I came in, Mayor Lickey was the mayor. The council was, in fact, the age was a little bit, more mature, and there was a set way of doing things at that particular time, and things that were expected. Obviously, everybody has their own philosophy on how they lead. However, when questions come up that affects the departments, affects the way the questioning and the reasoning happens during the course of a council meeting, people were readily available to answer those questions versus, not getting answered or continuing over to the next council meeting. So when I come from where I come from, obviously it's not necessarily of what is happening right now, but it goes back to my level of experience in serving on the council and things to expect from or expect of. Also, the other line of question that comes up, obviously, it's almost exact. Mr. Aaron Perry was asked a question about how much did it cost? He comes up with a figure, and then I began to produce why I asked that question, so there's another figure that should be out there that he's well aware of. But has not been, written down, not for my consumption or public consumption. And then there's another conversation that's asked, or a question that's asked by Councilmember Oliver Davis about, why don't we do this every summer, or, prepare something like this. And then there is, the folks in Michigan don't do it anymore. We've been in Harbor, State of Michigan, yada, yada, yada. And then even like Chicago doesn't do what they chase in Chicago. And in fact, those things are incorrect. And it's almost a blatant disregard to a working relationship that we're supposed to have and trust that we're supposed to have with people that we're working with. And I just really have a huge issue with a lot of that. I don't know if anybody else has an issue with that. Maybe you like being lied to. I don't. But when we don't have the information and then we ask for the information, then there's a difference in information that's given while you're standing here within 5 minutes. How can I expect or even think that the next conversation about anything that comes before the council with the same presenters are going to be in fact factual and going to have the correct information that we all are obviously deserve? And I don't know what's going on and why that is something that's been turned down over the last few years, but that's not going to be to our greatness. That's going to be to our demise. We have to have clear, transparent, and truthful conversations about what's going on. No one wants to be an obstructionist, but everybody should be informed properly. And those are my 2 cents for today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Davis. In no defense to the mayor, part of it was I apologize for my end of it. The mayor did text me yesterday to say that he was going to be presenting at a conference today. That's why he was not here. And that's why Catherine Roos and we've asked Eric Corbath to fill in. So that was one bit of information.
This is a Tuesday. This is not Monday. But let's look at the past meetings.
Right. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay, thank you. We'll move to the privilege of the floor. This is where the public has a right to come to the council, speak to the council. They're given 3 minutes. Mr. Gavin Furlick will time them, give them an exit warning. Please state your name and address. You can only speak on items that were not on the agenda or business tonight. And it's only for the public to speak. This isn't a time for council to return questions or comments. We can address those after, if need be, or in a separate meeting if need be. So, name and address?
Jesse Davis, P.O. Box 10205, South Bend, Indiana. I don't think the SB 150 was actually on the agenda, although people spoke about it. Apparently it was a great gathering. I wasn't here. I was in Chicago all weekend while my kids raced. I did have a couple concerns. I have a privilege of the floor asking basically the same thing Henry asked. How much did this, in fact, cost the taxpayers? And I understand that they had donations. I looked at their donation list, and mysteriously enough, the majority of their donations happened to be the big Democratic supporters and the businesses that seem to get 99.9% of the work in South Bend. So I would like y'all to look into that, and I think the community deserves some answers on what that cost. I also had a little problem with the SB 150's webpage, where they had some prohibited items. I know people don't like smokers. I am a smoker. But e-cigs were prohibited? Don't understand that. I don't think your smoking ban covers the e-cigs. I think that's all public area. I also have a problem that cameras were supposedly prohibited, professional cameras. Who's going to justify what's professional and what's not? And then I have a real big problem with the violation of Second Amendment rights for anyone who is a licensed concealed carry person. On your website, it said all and any weapons, even licensed, would be confiscated, not returned, and that the city, the police, your security companies would not be liable for destruction of those properties or loss of those properties. As soon as this got brought up on a public forum on the internet where this appeared, all of a sudden somebody went onto the city site and changed it all, thinking, oh, well, we'll change it. It was a mistake, no big deal. Whoever the person was who wrote this and put it on there should be held accountable. Obviously, there's one or two things going on. They either didn't know the law that they were writing, or they were trying to see just how far you can push a person and how many rights you can actually infringe upon before somebody decides to stand up and do something.
Yes.
So, just so you realize, I sent this to the NRA, and I sent it to the ACLU, because just by putting it on the public website, you have violated a lot of people's rights. Because if I would have came to your SB 150, I would have came packing purposely to see if you wanted to confiscate my weapon. Whoever did that had no legal right to do so, and they violated and discriminated against every person who believes in the right to carry, which is a constitutional right.
Sir, your time is up.
Okay, I have another one. I've got 3. This is for your draft ordinance that you haven't heard yet, and there's a letter attached to that as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next.
Samuel Brown at 222 East Navarre Street, City of South Bend. I represent a watchdog group, and I don't want to be knocking the city down. I heard they had a big birthday bash, and I'm proud of them, you know. But I came up through the old South Bend, and I remember how it used to go. 4 movie theaters, we had car dealerships, we had a lot of things going on. All of a sudden, somebody came in, switched the street around where the traffic would bypass around South End. Everything started going downhill. Then they brought the Hall of Fame. They said, we're going to pick it back up again. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, Hall of Fame ran out of office. I don't know what to say. I'm just amazed by all this stuff that's happening. And they keep saying, don't worry, it's going to be all right. I like to see something concrete before I buy into this. Because South Bend used to be going on. I mean, it was a nice place to go downtown. There were no subways. Prescott had the best subways. I mean, submarine sandwiches, anywhere you wanted to go. So, I'm just going to keep checking and keep looking and hoping, praying that this don't leave us like it did the last time. And it wasn't no University Mall neither. It was South Bend that had it going on.
Okay, thank you. Name and address, sir?
Jason Badicki Critchlow. I live at 3822 West 4th Street, South Bend, Indiana. We talked a lot tonight about redevelopment. We talked a lot about tipping points. You know, I'm born and raised on the west side. Went to Harrison, went to Navarre, graduated out of Washington, went down to IU Bloomington, graduated and returned to my west side roots. And yet, I stand before you, having sat there last Thursday at the Kroc Center and listened to the mayor try to tell me that the $2 million redevelopment plan for streets and sidewalks, and then the $200,000 out of that was spent on a study, wasn't really a study, it wasn't really a plan, it's just kind of a vision. Well, I'm here to tell you, I don't think that Mayor Pete spent $200,000 and 140 pages was created to create a vision of what the west side could be. To me, it looks like a plan to gentrify where I grew up, the area that made me who I am, the ethnic diversity, the income diversity that made us proud West Siders, that made us proud contributors and hard workers to the city of South Bend. And then I sit here and see tax abatement after tax abatement handed downtown. $40 million for streets and redevelopments to fix a Hall of Fame we spent tens of millions of dollars on hoping would fix the downtown then. And I'm saying we absolutely need the streets. We absolutely need the curbs. Leave the $500 trees for a time down the road sometime. Fix more curbs, build more sidewalks, put up more lights. But understand that we want to stay who we are. We love the West Side. Don't try to push people out of their homes and make area to build more parks. We have Harrison. We have Navarre. If you go on the Lincoln Way corridor, you've already cleared out a ton of space over there and moved out a ton of homes. And there's still no real coherent plan on how to make sure we take care of the 5 or 6 housing projects that are there, creating these large concentrations of poverty. And this plan never talks about how to fix that, but just how to avoid that concentration of poverty in the future. And I think if we truly want to redevelop the West Side, we need to sit down with the South Bend Housing Authority and come up with a plan that takes care of Beacon Heights and LaSalle Park and the housing projects by the Cove and the housing projects by the Kroc Center and redevelops true, multi-income housing that gives the West Side a bright future that it deserves, instead of this appeasement plan to the West Side that offers us just a token of dollars and a token of hope, but that repays Pete's big-time out-of-town contributors with plenty of interest. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Scott.
entertain a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Scott.
We're adjourned.
Mr. Scott. You got grass cut. So what is, how's it gonna work, man? Our grass is cut. Don't cut into the grass.
Let's talk to Parks, let's talk to Mayor's office.
They're cutting. They're overwhelmed.
I know, we gotta overwhelm them, that's why.
Well, no, but you need
What I
more
got,
people.
my plan.
Why they?
People want improvements. You got a lot. They don't want gentrification.
Gentrification, I'd welcome to get lucky with all those things. What you do? You're on I got a whole bunch of them. I'll tell you that. I'll verify with MJ.
Okay, shoot me a text now. I'm gonna go back.
Okay, I'll text you. Okay, I got all, you're talking about Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Well, we can,